Chairman of Institute Manages Braganza, respected Dasharat Parab sir, the Regional Director of Indira Gandhi Cultural Center, Dr. Dattaguru Amankar, the dignitaries present in the conference hall, the journalist and the lover of sacred groves. I am very happy to present before you a lecture on the sacred groves of Goa. My first slide takes you straight away to the sacred grove situated on the bank of the river Mahadai in Sattari Taluka in the lap of the Western Ghat. I am blessed to be born in the town of Bicholi, but after 5 years, my parents took me to my ancestral village, Keri. Keri actually is the Kannada word, means water tank. And I was wondering why my village got the name related to the water. So I was from age of 5 roaming in the jungle and spending the childhood in the shadow of Western Ghat. It was wonderful for me. One side there was a hill named after tiger, Wageri, and another hill named after peacock, Mollegar. And my house is situated in between two rivers. One is Kurti, originating at the foothill of Wageri, and another Vavanti, originating at Ambekhol in Karnataka, in Chorla Ghat. So, living in such a wonderful, lush green environment, my ties with the nature developed. When I was studying in primary Marathi school, I remember a poem, Deva tuji kiti sundara akasha, sundara prakasha, surya deto, chandra ha sundara. So that the poems, or during the month of the Paush, I got the opportunity to listen from our old woman, the melodious song of Dhalo. आषाढ महिना कार्तिक महिना मालनी पुनवे आनंद झाला गे झाला झाल्या बरा झाला सखया साधक घाला गे दारातलो आमोबाई तवराने डोले गे. The transformation of the nature, transformation that is taking place in surrounding, was establishing my linkages with the nature. And that is why when I was told about the deity Ajoba, and I started wondering why people name the sacred grove in the name of Ajoba, I started thinking, and then one day when I reached on the top of the hillock where one of the biggest sacred grove of Goa situated, I understood why people call the area as Ajoba Chirai, because Ajoba is not the grandfather, he is unseen Holy Spirit, and people believe that he protects the forest. And because of the forest, I came to know that in the village we are getting water. So jungle was related with the jal, and then because of this you can see the silt from the hill was coming and settling down, and that was enriching the nutrient of the soil. So then I got understand the relationship of jal jungle and zameen. And then I came to know that because of jal, jungle and zameen, the Jivan is there, the life is there. And that is why from my childhood I was loving the sacred grove, the Ajobachi Rai, or the almost, my village is blessed by 11 sacred groves. Baldechi Rai, Komachi Rai, Biramnachi Rai. And then I started visiting villages. And when I got the book of V.D. Varta, that opened my eyes, the centenary volume published in the memory of Dr. V.D. Varta, articles written by Dr. Madhav Gadgil, and then my search began. And I started reading various books. D. Brandis, the first Inspector General of India, recorded that India is blessed by such a beautiful sacred grove, and it is the heritage. The Francis Buchanan, or in 1752, on the bank of the river Narmada, the James Forbes saw the sacred grove, and he, through the painting, immortalized the sacred groves. In India, we have Kavi Kulaguru Kalidas, Bhasha Sumukhya Divya Madhura Girvana Bharati. What we say is, so that if we read the Rutu Samvar or Vikramarshya or Abhigya Shakuntal, all these stories given to us by Kavi Kulaguru Kalidas, their main place of happening was the forest. In India, people love forest because they consider it as a tapovan, the place where one can sit and enjoy the peace of the mind. And that is why I got attracted toward this subject, and I visited the nook and corner of this land, and then I went to the various places in India, took part in the discussion, debate, conferences, and my knowledge about sacred groves was enriched. As Indian, you should feel very proud because our forefather gave us excellent institution, community conserved area in the form of the sacred grove. And these sacred groves, you can see, sacred grove is not only the patch of the forest protected in the name of the folk deity, but here you can see so many things are there. Culture is there, religion is there, rituals are there, and this is the Gajalakshmi, the goddess of Jal, Jungle and Zameen. And if you look at this Gajalakshmi panel, you know the Gajalakshmi is not the deity connected only to the Hinduism. If you read Jainism or if you read Buddhism and go to the Sanchi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh, backside you can see the Gajalakshmi, or you go to Andhra Pradesh and see the Alampur, the goddess, mother goddess, where worship of the mother goddess takes place. There at the entrance you can find the Gajalakshmi panel, or you come to any places in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu or in Maharashtra, you will find this deity, Gajalakshmi. And in Kushe, on the bank of the river Madai, one can see the biggest panel of the Gajalakshmi of Goa. So here you can see so many things, the history, archaeology, and also our cultural beliefs are connected with the sacred grove. And this deity is inside a small patch of the forest. Once upon a time, the sacred groves were protected, but when the religion became weakened, the hold of the religion on the human mind became weaker, So during that time, the slowly agriculture and horticulture continued to create lot of problem for these sacred places. And in Kushe, the sacred grove, now you will find only 3 or 4 trees are there. Once upon a time, it was totally forested area, but now you can find the areca nut, the coconuts replaced it. So this is the beautiful sculpture which tells you about the cultural history of Goa. Next slide. So this is the map prepared by my student who is the teacher, Subodh Naik, which gives an idea about the sacred groves. So largest concentration of the sacred groves in Goa presently is in Sattari Taluka. Because Sattari Taluka is the taluka from the new conquest which came under the Portuguese rule for very few years. Until 1912, the last revolt of the Sattari of Goa, that is More Rani revolt, took place in the year 1912. And that is why people who were very much afraid that their goddesses, their sculptures would be desecrated, that is why they kept all this sculpture inside the groves and groves were protected. So this map gives you rough idea about how many sacred groves are there, but the largest concentration of the sacred groves one can see in Sattari Taluka, and I have told you that my village where I am presently residing in Keri, there are 11 sacred groves, and there are very few villages in Goa where you can see 10 sacred groves are there. But at least one sacred grove you will find in most of the forested villages of Goa. Next. The culture, how you can see people come very close to the nature. We have different types of the fairs and festivals in Goa. For example, Dasra festivals. And the worship of the pitcher is nothing but, it is the kumbha. So it is the respect for the procreation. We in India consider woman as a symbol of the fertility, and that is why worship of the kumbha takes place. And during any cultural religious festival, we have the tradition of worshipping pitcher, and pitcher with the water is considered as the symbol of the procreation, nirmiti, and that is why on the first day of Navaratri festival in Ashwin month, you will find the sanctum sanctuary, that is the Garbhagriha of the temple, the 9 different varieties of the food grain are sprinkled, and on the Mahanavami night or on the first early in the morning of Vijayadashmi, these sprouted grains are removed and woman having husband use it for decorating the head. So this tradition tells you, or the Ravana actually is the deity which represents the finest particle of the clay. Mati kahe kumar se, tu kyo rondhe mohe, ek din aisa avega main rondhungi tohe. So the finally the clay is supreme. You can take birth in any religion, Hindu, Muslim or Christian. Finally, Dahan or Dafan, we will become one with the soil. And that is why respect for the soil was very important, and Ravana is considered as the representation of the male element, whereas Satyr is considered as the representation of the female. So when Prakriti and Purush comes together, there is the cycle of the birth. So Dasra festival represent all these things. Next. In India, you know, if you go to the Indus Valley civilization, today Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are in Pakistan, but there are some sites on the bank of the Pravara river in Ahmednagar. If you go to Daimabad, there you will find some of the artifacts belonging to the Indus Valley civilization discovered. So worship of the snake was there in India, and since the primitive period, the human beings were worshipping the snakes, and you know the snake, especially the common cobra, that is naja naja, zoologically what we call. It looks very beautiful snake and resists the food. It is in the defense mechanism, but it attracts the human being, and human being were surprised by the power of the cobra. So that is why they started worshipping the cobra. And the same tradition you can find during the Naga Panchami day or Ananta Chaturdashi. And then we have the worship of the stars. You know, in Goa we have the tribal community like Gowda, Kunbi and Ved. Among them the festival is there. Katyo Baye, Katyo Ge, Akashi Udyalo. The twinkling stars in the sky became the topic of their attraction. And then, you know, the largest venomous snake, King Cobra. The name, I don't know why the snake is given name Cobra, because it resists the food. It has no relationship with the cobra, and the common cobra is also the food of the Bhujanga. The name of the snake in Kannada, Marathi and Konkani is Bhujanga. And this Bhujanga today coming near to the human settlement, that is because of the, you know, Goa's identity, Kaju. The Kaju, the plantations of the Kaju, human beings are taking to the sacred groves, taking to the forested area, and that is why problems are there with the habitat of the king cobra. Next. In the month of the Bhadrapad, when on the 4th day a celebration of the Ganesh Chaturthi takes place, after 10 days, if you visit the tribal belt of Goa in Kanpon, Kepe and Sange, there are some hamlets where you can see Kodua Parab is celebrated. So they goes into the sacred grove. In the village of Verle, for example, in Sange, in Netravadi Wildlife Sanctuary, early before the celebration, early evening, they will go into the forest and they will remove roots, shoots, leaves and bring it together, and then they make part of it, and the number of families in the village distribute. And then early in the morning, they will take the decoction made from this medicine. It is called Kodua Parab, bitter medicine. So this was the tradition. And then we have the tradition of the Baras. Before starting agriculture, after the monsoonal rain is over, there is tradition of the Baras. So all these are festivals related with the agriculture. Next. We have the tradition of the Matwali. Matwali means the wooden canopy over the head of the Ganpati, wherein the seasonal biodiversity, different types of the plants, roots, shoots, all this get the place in the Matwali. So there are almost 400 items having ethnobotanical value, medicinal value, tied, and if you make the study, it is an informal way of educating people about the medicinal plants, medicinal herbs. Next. Next. So why people started protecting sacred grove? The main reason for protecting sacred grove was not only the forest, but all the creature, the living as well as non-living things are given shelter, asylum in the sacred grove. So you will find description in Indian mythological scriptures. You know, when Prabhu Ramchandra and Sita discusses, Prabhu Ramchandra shows to Sita the Bhutiya Manasparma. Bhutiya Manasparma is the beautiful flowers, you know, pearls. And he tells Sita, look at the palash. Got it? No? So that is, you know, the beauty of India's tradition. Ramayana, Mahabharata or any scripture, you find the description about different types of the forest. So forest is a place where we enjoy the peace of the mind. Forest is a place where you can see the biodiversity. And here you can see the largest butterflies of southern Indian subcontinent, the southern birdwing or banded peacock, or the middle you will find the state butterflies of Goa, Malabar tree nymph. Then you can see the chocolate pansy or Tamil lacewing, the endemic butterflies, and then the blue tigers. All this beauty one can see in the sacred groves. So the state butterflies of Goa, Malabar tree nymph, has only two colors, white and black. But if you want to enjoy the beauty of this butterfly, then go to any evergreen forested area. Why Goa government declared these butterflies as the state butterflies of Goa? Because it is the indication of evergreen patches of the forest which are now fast disappearing. So in the name of the butterfly we can protect the forest. Next. Different types of the flowers, Parvata, Dongara, Fulala, Mogara, Deva Tuja Nagara Utsav Jala. If you go to Mandur, that is Dongri, during Intruth, people celebrate Sigmo festival under the guise of the Intruth and Mogri or the Surangi, scented flowers. And we have a sacred grove in Sarvan village totally dedicated to Surunga, Mimosa, Ilinji, or downward you will find a Kandala, Ovla. Kandala एका समुद्राची तिरी पा कांदळीची झाडं कांदळा फुटीत गेली 600 नंदार. Kandalas are the mangroves. They are silt trapper, cyclone breaker, flood controller, and one can see them in the sacred grove. One can see the aura inside the sacred grove, and the indicator of the presence of the water is done by the Nak Champak, the Champaka flower. So all this, for example, if you go to Mulgaon, where Shantadurga Pumburka Pekarin temple is there, in front of the temple you will find a sacred tree in the form of the Nak Champak. So Nak Champak is the indicator of the presence of water, and wherever these trees are there, people establish their village. The best example you will find in the Sattari Taluka, the village situated above the 800 meter above the sea level is Surla, and the third settlement of the village, people established where there was Nak Champaka flower. Tree was there because people were aware that they will get the water throughout the year. So our forefathers, they were aware about what type of the trees standing, and they get the knowledge about the hydrology. Next. So Vak Sapko, Waghati, Bhutia Manasparma, or the Kadamba, or you can see the Ashok. Ashoka is a Saraka indica. It is the, if you want to enjoy the beauty of the Saraka Ashoka during these days, then the best place is the sacred grove. If you visit any sacred grove, for example, if you go to Valpoi, 3 kilometers is a Kopade, where you can see Devachi Rai. Inside this Devachi Rai, you can see the Ashoka tree. Why the tree got the Ashoka name? Because it is really the remover of the grief and sorrow. People were aware about it, so that is why it is advised that before committing suicide, if you sit under the Saraka indica, your pain, your agony will disappear under the tree. And then we have the wild varieties of the Crocenda, Aboli. So nature is very beautiful, and Kadamba's flowers, if you visit Goa, in various places you will find this Kadamba. It is considered as a sacred. Next. Every after 7 years, so 2022, during the monsoon season, if you come to my Western Ghat, bordering Goa, Maharashtra and Karnataka, you will see this Karvi Corolasa. So it is the indication that now the period of 7 years passed, and tree will have the blossom. This shrub will have the blossom, so beautiful, and the honeybees get the knowledge about the bloom of this flower, and they will collect the honey and they make big honeycombs. And most of the terminal species during this time, you will find most of the sacred growth full with the honeycombs. And in search of the honey, you will find the sloth bears are there in the sacred growth. So this relationship is there. So if you want to see the sacred growth inside, this flower inside the sacred growth, the best place is the Sulla, Devachi Rai, where you can see the blossom of the Karvi. So Karvi, the best blues you can see in this Sulla. Next. People were enjoying different types of the elements of the food from the sacred groves. Sacred groves provide them not only the medicine but also the nutritious food. Fungi, for example, Termitomyces gomanthicus, the mushroom that are found on the ant hill. You know, the ant hill is the representation of the water. Wherever waters are there, you will find the ant hill. So ant hill during the monsoon season bears the mushrooms, and mushrooms are, you know, the sugar free and provides you the different elements of the nutrition. So these are the different types of the fungi you can see mostly in protected in the sacred grove. So Goa government in 2019 declared Purvati Rai in Surla village of Bicholim as the first natural heritage site of Goa. After doing study in the angle of ecology, archaeology and sociologically, Goa State Biodiversity declared this as the first biodiversity heritage site under the Biodiversity Act of India. So if you visit this sacred grove in the mining belt of the Sulla, you all will be surprised to see the variety, the sacred grove there has of the fungi or mycology. Next. The wildflowers. The wildflowers, if you read the poems of the William Wordsworth or in Marathi, Baba Borkar or Balkavi, our world is enriched by these beautiful poems. So mostly during the monsoon season, that is during the Shravan and Bhadrapad, if you visit, then most of the sacred groves or the plateaus there are full with the different types of the wildflowers. Next. So orchids. So this orchid, the first orchid you can see, it is on the highest mountain of Goa, 1027 meter above the sea level is the Sosogad. So on the Sosogad there are some patches which are considered as sacred by the people, and most of the sacred groves you will see during the monsoon, Sitechi Veni, Draupadichi Veni, orchids, Amri. Most of the terminal species, they showcases you the orchid diversity of Goa. So that is why the importance of the sacred grove is more. Next. Amphibians, for example, if anybody want to study about the amphibian, the Sicilian or the Malabar gliding frogs, or you can take the example of the toads, you will find they mostly take shelter in such type of the sacred grove. So sacred grove is the shelter for these amphibians. Next. So snakes are considered as very harmful. We have the concept that all snakes are harmful, but the snakes also showcases beauty. So middle snake, for example, is green wine snake, Haryali. The variation in the color, if anybody want to enjoy, then the best place to visit such sacred grove is Satranchi Devrai in Satray village inside the Mahadev Wildlife Sanctuary. You will have to do the hiking, and then when you reaches the top, I showed the volunteer almost a quarter century ago. They were very much interested in studying about different types of the viper. The hump-nosed speed viper, first time they got opportunity to see inside the sacred grove of the Saturday Siddevrai. So here you will find the pit viper snakes. So this is the Malabar pit viper, and that is the bamboo pit viper, and middle is the green vine snake. So both are the venomous snakes. Malabar pit viper, mostly it is a nocturnal. So when we were going in the jungle during night time, I got opportunity to click the photo. And then the bamboo pit viper, you will find mostly in wherever bamboos are there. So they are indicator of the bamboos, chapde what you call. So if we kill all the snakes, considering them as a poisonous, you know, the human being is more poisonous than all. So if you take bite of your close associate, you will find the person will die if the proper treatment is not taken. So we always look at the snake as a poisonous, but for them, if you, whatever they are eating, it is digesting because of the venom. So venom is very essential for them. Next. So if you go in the jungle, wherever sacred groves are there, for example, if you visit the Surla in Sattari Taluka, you can see this the state animal of Goa, bison, or slender loris, where people call it as a one manus because it is a primate. Then the presence of the big cat, katandar, or the mouse deer. So which is rare, endangered, they are protected inside the sacred grove. Next. From 2002, Goa government was telling no tigers, but the presence of the tiger was proved in 2013 in the jungle of the Wageri at the foothill of the Maulichi Rai. So Pishachi Rai, Maulichi Rai, these are the sacred groves there, and this is the Maulangiche Pani, where the first photographs of the tigress was taken. So now we have the two female and one male tigers in the forest of the Mahadev Wildlife Sanctuary in Goa. Next. So different types of the birds, for example, the state birds of Goa, bulbul, yellow bulbul, or you can see the raghu, or you can see the frog moth, or hanging parrot. Only parrot found in India is hanging parrots, vernal hanging parrots, or the fish eater, kingfisher. So this beauty of the different types of the birds, for example, if you are interested, then the best place is I was very much enthralled to see the state birds of Maharashtra when I visited the Nagnath in Mede. Nagnath today, if you visit, people are going in a large number for Mahashivratri festival. But when I first visited that area, I got opportunity to see the state bird of Maharashtra, Harod. So beauty of these birds, the best places are the sacred groves. Next. Now, why people consider forest as a sacred? Because people think that it is related with their custom, tradition, and that is why if you go to the village, the prehistoric village on the bank of the river Dudhsagar, Shigaon, you will find this 12 stone, Barajan. People worship them as a Barajan. Then if you visit Pisulle, there you will find the Maringanachi Rai. Maringanachi Rai in the Maringan is considered as the deity, and most of the sculptures of the Maringan you will find the drum is there, and this is the on the top you will find the Satulichi Rai in Gaudongri in Cancun, and then another on the meeting point of the Sange Kepe and Cancun, you will find this Paika Panda. So, mostly the tribal community consider their folk deity as a Pai, and there are sacred groves protected in the honor of the Pai. So this is Paika in Mangal village of the Kepe Taluka. 140 million years ago, when there was no human beings on the earth, what was there? There was a forest, and 140 million years ago forest is there in Sattari, Sange Taluka of Goa. 3 forest areas are in Sattari Taluka. This is one very accessible near to the road in Maoli village of Sattari, 7 km from Walpai. If you visit this, you will find inverted type of the roots. So Myristica swamp vegetation, dominant species inside this, and then you will find different types of the, for example, Shoyab Khurdo, my village in Sattari Taluka, or if you go to any villages of Sattari, you will find at least one tree is protected in the name of the folk deity. Next.
So this one is at Maroli village?
This is Shoyab, this one, fourth one. Fourth one is a Shoyab Khurda.
This third one, this side, is at Maroli village.
This one is Maroli. Both are from Maroli. Myristica swamp vegetation, inverted type of the root, and that is this is the Shoyab Khurda in Sattari Taluka. Mining village. Today mining is stopped there.
This is Maroli.
Yeah. Nirankarachira.
Is it accessible?
Yeah, very near to the road. Just you have to walk for 1 minute and you reach inside the forest. And there are no restrictions, just only you have to walk from the road and enter it. Next. So pandanus, the pandanus vegetation is very important, and mostly water resources, wherever water resources are there, pandanus are there. Halata dolata aile ek kegdi bonado. We have the Fugdi song on kegdi mud. So kegdi flowers are very scented flowers, and in Koparne, 3 km from Walpai, if you visit, you will find this sacred growth, and flowers during these seasons are auctioned, and whatever expenditure for the temple is made from this money. So it is famous for this pandanus, and you can see the size of the tall towering trees. Now 5 peoples are there inside the Bhuipan in Verle in Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary. Once upon a time it was a mining dominated village, but in 2006 the mining stopped there, and because of that you can see the trees like Pakshi, Bhausula and Jarma, very huge trees. So it is wonder of the nature. Next. Now one of the beautiful protected sacred grove is Ajobachi Tali. See, Ajobachi Tali, you have to walk almost 5 km in the jungle inside the Madai Wildlife Sanctuary, and then you can see the largest concentration of the Semicarpus catholicanaensis trees in the world. So largest concentration of the Semicarpus catholicanaensis trees are there in this forest, Brahma Karmali. The Brahmadev actually was from Tiswadi Taluka, but when Alauddin Khilji invaded, his commander Malik Kafur invaded Guwapuri, there was no way left for the devotees to lift the sculpture of the Brahmadev, and they took it and went in the direction of the Western Ghat, and they reached on the hillock, where the hillock was full with the Makaranga pallatata trees. The village name was Chandiude, but the village was full with the thirst quenching water. So the Gowda person was tired, so he drank the water and then he ate the food, And then he slept there, and in the dream, the Lord appeared and told me, the person, not to take me further in the deep forest. This is the best place for me. And he was there in the jungle, and the place Chandude lost the name forever, and today it is identified as Brahma Karmali. So in Brahma Karmali, what you will not see in other part of the Goa, you can see in this. Here the sacred grove is very primeval. Before the birth of the human being, this forest was there, and afterward the primitive man, the prehistoric man was residing in this area. So I got the evidences of the rock art on the laterite, Dudin Sodo, just 5 kilometers away from the sacred grove. So sacred groves are protected not only for the forest, but you will find they are connected with so many things because they provide ecosystem services to us. So this is, if you drink the water from this area, then you will find why people consider this forest as important and protected it. Mopa International Airport, once upon a time, was the area which was famous for the sacred grove. So this was before the work started. You can see in Goa, no, Bakibab Borkar wrote poem on त्या दिसा वडाकडेन गडद तिनसाना मंद मंद वाजत आयली तुझी गो पायजणा. So Ficus religiosa or Ficus bengalensis, we are aware about both these ficus variety, but there are many more ficus varieties are there, and this is one of the unique ficus variety which is already chopped from that area. It was just like natural air conditioning. And this is the Pajali Chirai. You know, there is a story in the mining belt of Pisulle, the god and goddesses, both of them were going in the sky, and immediately the lush green paddy field attracted the deity, and deity told the god that I want to see this village. So she came down and she went into the house in the form of the human being and tasted the rice gruel, and she loved. So the deity decided to reside in this area. So she took shelter in the forest. The sacred grove got the name Pajali Devichi Rai. So goddess Pajali is there, and God also resided in that village. So people started calling the goddess Pisodev. Next. You will find Liana, the creepers, huge tall towering trees, and the creepers are there. So this is Narayan Devachi Rai in Sulla, where you know the Narayan Dev temple is there. So it shows you how whole of the Sulla village is covered with the mining leases, but there are some pockets where you can see such type of the Liana, creepers are there. Then if you go to Dharbandoda Taluka, in Dharbandoda Taluka, you will find the Khajkon. So here Ashtadikpal, the sculpture showing the 8 direction. The goddesses, God representing different 8 directions are there in this sacred grove. Khajkon Chirai, Sakoda. Next.
Is it accessible?
Yeah. You have to walk for about 2 kilometers. Tomorrow is the Mahashivratri, and this is in the Vadaval in Bicholim Taluka, the biggest Shivlinga of Goa and Konkan region. This is inside the sacred grove. This is the Siddhachi Rai of Vadaval. Village is Latambarshe, but the name of the place is Vadaval, and it is related with the Nath cult. If you try to find out the history of the Saptakoteshwar, the Saptakoteshwar was the presiding deity of the Kadamba, and Shivlinga of Saptakoteshwar was brought from the Tiswadis Narvi to Latambarse, and from Latambarse it is said that the Saptakoteshwar temple was established in Hindole village, and Hindole village got the name today Narve. But there is reference that the Shivlinga was there in Latambarshe. Whether this Shivlinga is a Saptakoteshwar or not, very difficult to tell. But this is the biggest Shivlinga of the Goa, and the biggest Shivlinga of India. If you want to see, then go to Madhya Pradesh. Bhoj Raja has established Shivlinga there. So this is related with the Nath culture, and Matsendra Nath, along with his follower, visited. It is said that he visited the place, and the place also is famous for Kalika temple. The goddess Kali is worshipped as Mahamaya Kalika in Kasarpal. So near to Kasarpal, this place is there, Vadawal. So once upon a time it was full with the banyan tree, but today you can see Mimosa ilinji tree, that is Ovalaches hard, and few more trees are there. So people want to construct a temple here, but earlier the natural setting was the temple of the Lord Siddhanath. So this temple, the Shivlinga, is situated in such a way that straight away, if you walk, you will reach in one of the geological wonder of Kasainath. The Kasainath, you know, is worshipped as a sacred mountain by the people, border people from Goa and Maharashtra. So you have to climb, and it looks like the Shivlinga. So if you climb the Western Ghat mountain and go to Mangeli, from Mangeli, if you look at the Kasainath hill, you will find the whole hill it looked like the Shivlinga. And in 2001, when I was in the jungle, in the area of Tilari region, convincing the people not to kill the elephant in 2001. So there, during night time, I got opportunity to listen the story. The old people were telling me that when Maruti lifted the Dronagiri Parvat and was going in the direction of Lanka, one of the piece dropped down and it became the Kasainath. So that was the story told to me, and then I started searching about the Kasainath, and then I got this, oldest stone of this region. The whole that hill emerges out of the lava, the volcano, and you can see it is worshipped as a Shivlinga. Tomorrow is a Mahashivratri, and if you visit Somakanta Shila on the top of the Chandranath Bhutanath temple, inside the Chandranath Bhutanath temple, there you will find the meteorite was fallen, people believe, and it is converted into Somakanta Shila. And the earlier temple was built in such a way that on the full moon day, every full moon day, the sunlight was entering into the temple, taking entry into the Garbhagriha and falling on the stone, and that was the stone was immersing out the water. So that wonder was there, and this is one of the oldest stone of world you can see in worship in this area. Next. So sacred grove you will find, for example, the biggest sacred grove of Goa, known sacred grove of Goa, is in Karanjol village, Hulyechi Rai. It covers almost 27 hectares of area. But there are even single tree is considered as a sacred grove. In Morley village, for example, you will find the Gudgachi Rai, Terminella bellarica. These are the Gudga. So Gudgas when became dry, people will take it and then hammer with the stone, and they will remove the nut and eat. So eating few is okay, but if you go on eating more, then you will face the problem. So Gudgachi Rai gives us this gotu, and if you read the article written in the book by Katrina Kakkar, the German writer, you will understand even one single tree become the bio island, and there are folk stories, there are folk songs related with this sacred grove. In Morley village of Sattari, you can see this Gudgachi Rai. Next. On the top of the hill, Wageri, you will find this Maulichi Rai. Maulichi Rai is very unique in Goa because most of the, we love spices. So wild varieties of the spices, if you want to see, whatever today we are eating, it was from the jungle. You take the case of the rice, different varieties of the rice, for example. If you go to the Majuli, the biggest island in the India or in the world is the Majuli in Assam. So there are 100 varieties of the rice are there. So rice came from Assam to Goa, and you can see the Goan land is enriched by different varieties of the rice. For example, Khosri, Damgo, Belo, Asgo, Babri, Shitto. These are the different varieties of the rice. But during olden time, people were living in the tune with the nature, and they were not cultivating rice in Goa. They were not the rice eater. They were eating what were termed by the British as the coarse food grain. And today, most of the iron, the folic acid, we get from the food grain which human being brought from the Africa. Finger millet, nasni, came from the Ethiopia. So these people, the Dhangar community people who are residing in the near to the sacred grove of the Maulichi Rai, it got the name Maulichi Rai because the Mauli, the goddess of the Kankumbi village in Karnataka, was originally there in the sacred grove, but the deity was afterward taken and the temple was established in the Karnataka. So here today you will find only 7 pictures are there, and it represents the Saptamatroka tradition. So most of the wild varieties of the spices, if anybody want to see cloves, nutmeg, then the best place is the Maulichi Rai on the hill of the Wageri, 726 meters above the sea level is the. So sacred grove you will find, for example, the biggest sacred grove of Goa, known sacred grove of Goa is in Karanjol village, Hulyechi Rai. It covers almost 27 hectares of area. But there are even single tree is considered as a sacred grove. In Morle village, for example, you will find the Gudgachi Rai, Terminina bellarica. These are the Gudga. So Gudgas when became dry, people will take it and then hammer with the stone, and they will remove the nut and eat. So eating few is okay, but if you go on eating more, then you will face the problem. So Gudgachi Rai gives us this Gutu, and if you read the article written in the book by Katrina Kakkar, the German writer, you will understand even one single tree become the bio island, and there are folk stories, there are folk songs related with this sacred grove. In Morle village of Sattari, you can see this Gudgachi Rai. Next. On the top of the hill, Wageri, you will find this Maulichi Rai. Maulichi Rai is very unique in Goa because most of the, we love spices. So wild varieties of the spices, if you want to see, whatever today we are eating, it was from the jungle. You take the case of the rice, different varieties of the rice, for example. If you go to the Majuli, the biggest island in the India or in the world is the Majuli in Assam. So there are 100 varieties of the rice are there. So rice came from Assam to Goa, and you can see the Goan land is enriched by different varieties of the rice. For example, Khosri, Damgo, Belo, Asgo, Babri, Shitto. These are the different varieties of the rice. But during olden time, people were living in the tune with the nature, and they were not cultivating rice in Goa. They were not the rice eater. They were eating what were termed by the British as the coarse food grain. And today, most of the iron, the folic acid, we get from the food grain which human being brought from the Africa. Finger millet, nasni, came from the Ethiopia. So these people, the Dhangar community people who are residing in the near to the sacred grove of the Mauli Chirai. It got the name Mauli Chirai because the Mauli, the goddess of the Kankumbi village in Karnataka, was there in the sacred grove, but the deity was afterward taken and the temple was established in the Karnataka. So here today you will find only 7 pictures are there, and it represents the Saptamatroka tradition. So most of the wide varieties of the spices, if anybody want to see cloves, nutmeg, then the best place is the Mauli Chirai on the hill of the Vagari. 726 meters above the sea level is the Vagari. Next. Semicarpus catholicanaensis trees, I took the scientists there and they validated it. The principal of the forest forest college from Silsi visited Dr. Vasudeva, and then the study was done, and our the HOD of the botany department also was there, and then we got different types of the seeds or Semicarpus catholicanaensis and other varieties of the trees were there, and you can see the freshwater mangroves. See the root of the so such type of the unique trees you can find inside the sacred grove. So sacred grove is that is why unique and need to be protected. And if you go to the northeast part of India, Nagaland, Mizoram, there also you will find the tribal people protected the sacred groves. Or if you go to Tamil Nadu, there also you will find the sacred grove. And if anybody want to study and enjoy the sacred groves of India, then they should visit the Bhopal, where Simla Hill is there. Indira Gandhi Manav Sangrahalaya is the best place where you can see the replica of the different sacred groves of India. So in Goa, you can see there are forests in the Satari Taluka, or in Sange, for example, Barazon is there, Suryagal is there, Talavli is there, where you can see the Myristica swamp vegetations are there. So people protect it because they were aware that these are unique trees, very important trees, and that is where the tradition of sacred groves began. Next. The sacred grove is not only related with the Hinduism, but in Bicholim you will find once upon a time the dargahs were built in the company of the different types of the trees. So trees are protected, and we have the communal harmony tradition here in Bicholim. And there are, for example, if you visit the Ibrampur, there are also 26 Caryota urine, the Ville marts were protected in the name of the Gazi Pir Ibrahim in Ibrampur village on the bank of the river Kolwa. Next. So, if you go to the border areas, for example, if you want to see the Saraka indica forest everywhere, then the best place is the Hewali. Hewali is the village named after, the checkered keelback snake, Hewali snake. Mostly finds in the water, it is a water snake. So this is the Hewali village in the Tilari, where you will find the largest concentration of the Saraka indica. There are villages, for example, near to Kuda, there is a village called Sagam. So if you want to see the best Terminala Arjuna tree, Terminal Arjuna tree is not Serpulina urens, what you call Dhavaru. Dhavaru is totally different, but in many Ayurvedic doctors identified misconception is there. So Terminala Arjuna is totally different, and the best place, the largest concentration of the this tree you will find in the Sagam. So this is in the Hewali in nearby Maharashtra, Gajalakshmi tradition, and the flowers are used for decorating head during the Shigma festival. Next. So this is near to the Dungarpal, Khoniye in Dodamak Taluka. One can see. So in the border areas also you will find the sacred groves in Karnataka, in Maharashtra also. So this is outside Goa. These two slides are from outside Goa. Next. And this is the third one, Asanye, where if this is Vag Devachera. Sacred groves protected in the name of the tiger. So tiger in Goa, I got almost more than 30 to 40 temples dedicated to tiger god. So largest concentration of the tiger temples of Goa is in the Moline National Park and the Mahavir Wildlife Sanctuary. So this is inside one of the sacred groves in Asani village of the Maharashtra, just 20 kilometers away from 25 kilometers away from the Dodamak Taluka. So village is a part of the Western Ghat area. So this is Vagdevachi Rai. Next. So today there are different threads for the sacred grove. Why the tradition of sacred grove emerged? The mainly people during olden time, primitive period, they were doing the slash burn practice of the agriculture called kumeri cultivation. So you can see the kumeri cultivation still is in vogue. So now a lot of restrictions put under the Forest Conservation Act. So because of this kumeri cultivation, people thought that at least in the name of the god, we should protect the forested area. So the tradition of institution of sacred groves emerges out. And then the agriculture, we believe that we got the culture only because of the agriculture. Because of the agriculture, the man who was roaming in the jungle, hunting and doing what not for the food, he started enjoying the settled life and he got extra time. So he started thinking about learn and shared behavior. That is the culture. So the agriculture gave us the culture, but it is responsible for eliminating the sacred groves traditions. Next. Now the big thread, for example, if you go to Shirgaon Ghatir Bai Fulala Ek Nagal Kuda, a beautiful song. If you go and try to find out the Nagal Kuda there, very difficult to get the Nagal Kuda, and you can see how the human being unearthing for the craze for the ore is so much that today we are least bothered about the water. And this is in Pisulle village, both these slides, and that is inside the Netravali Wildlife Sanctuary. So in
Pisulle also has caves, right? Under cave or something.
Where?
Pisulle?
Pisulle cave is there inside the mining bed, Devlai. So tomorrow if you go, you will get the opportunity to see it. But whole of the year it is restricted, entry is restricted. So it is under the Damodar Mangalji mines. So beautiful area. Once upon it is called as Devlai. It was famous for the sacred growth and the Shivlinga. So that Shivlinga was studied by Dr. Mittali Girtalwana, the German scholar who visited Goa in the year 1975. Next. So now it is high time for all of us to think why these sacred groves are necessary. The sacred groves provide us the medicinal plants. They are the last home for the tigers. The tigers situation in Goa is very critical. Nobody wants to respect the tiger presence even in the forest. So there are very few sacred groves where they can enjoy the peace of the mind. For example, the 27-hectare Holyechi Ran. If you visit, there you will find the presence of the tiger, because that Holyechi Ran is situated in between two protected area. One is in Goa, that is Mahadai Wildlife Sanctuary, and it is connected to the Kai Tiger Reserve of Karnataka. Here is Karanzo, and in Kai Tiger Reserve you have Viranzo. So the sacred grove is the last hope for this big cat. So you will find the degradation of the sacred groves is already there in my Satari Taluka. Once upon a time, the Asode village was famous for the sacred grove. Near to the Bimbal, there is one village called, which is related with the mango tree. Pas Amachi Rai was there. Ambeli. Pas Amachi Rai was there. Today, if you go there, you will find the cement concrete structure temple is there, and the big trees were already chopped. So now the concept of the people of God is different, so they want, we are living in the air conditioning. So that is why they want their God to live in the air conditioning, created artificially. So they don't want the natural setting, and that is why there is threat looming over the sacred grove. So sacred groves are the hope, they are the sources of water, they are the unique places where you can see the very different elements of the biodiversities. But today, many of the sacred groves are on the verge of extinction. So that is why I am very much thankful to Indira Gandhi Cultural Center. I am very thankful to Dr. Dattaguru Amankar, Director of